You got a friend in me. When the road gets rough ahead and you're miles and miles from your nice warm bed, you just remember what your old pal said, 'cause you got a friend in me. Boop, ba-doop, ba-doop.
Okay, welcome everyone to the newly named From Us to Youth podcast. Thanks, Jordan, for that. Pretty much the originator of that idea. I think it's I love that name because it's descriptive of who we are and what we're trying to do. We're all youth workers in some form or fashion, and we want to create a podcast from youth workers to youth. And so that's kind of the goal of this podcast, is to have a little bit of fun, like we do in youth ministry, but also to talk about things that matter, like we do in youth ministry, like we should be doing in youth ministry. So before we get rolling, for our youth ministry here locally at First Baptist Canyon Lake, we have just a few announcements. So Dakota, give us what you got.
So we're doing the podcast. It's every Tuesday at 7, and then youth worship every Wednesday at 7, both on Facebook and YouTube.
Sweet. Yes, that is true. We are also having a Zoom lunch at 12 on Thursdays. This last one was hosted by Jordan because I messed up my schedule, and Jordan's better at it anyway.
We talked about Star Wars the whole time.
Yeah.
It was great.
I listened to most of the conversation because I ended up getting back in time, and it was great. I really enjoyed it. It was fun not being there and listening to it, because I think that I would have had an ill effect on that conversation. Everybody was, I think, just a tad more real with their answers about what Star Wars character they would be and such. So that's on Thursday. Then Friday, you will hear from a youth volunteer just checking in on you, seeing how you're doing. And then on Sundays, we have our live stream at 11 and worship service, which Andrew's going to talk about. And then at 5 o'clock on Zoom, we have our youth Bible study. So be sure to check those out. Andrew, what you got?
Yeah, so Sunday we start back to a somewhat regular worship schedule. We're opening the doors, we're letting people come in. But there's some restrictions. We're going to cut down on the flow of traffic. So, once you're in the sanctuary, we want you to be in the sanctuary. So if you need to use the restroom beforehand, you need to do that before you enter the sanctuary. And we're only going to have 2 people in the restroom at a time, just to help limit contact and traffic there. And the seats will be marked. It'll be pretty obvious when you get there, but each seat will be marked about 2 feet per person, and I guess that's really like 2 feet per small children, two small children. So, but really the marks are just there so your family can sit down and you can see a good amount of space in between you and the next family. And so we ask that you only sit with the people that you came to church with, just to help social distance and to protect those that are around us. Because even though we're asking those that are older to not come, who are at a higher risk of, or are a higher risk of danger from the disease,
right.
There still will be people that have to interact with people who are at high risk. So we're just asking everybody to just take an extra measure of precaution. You're welcome to wear a mask if you want, but we're not requiring you to wear a mask. But if you wear a mask, you must wear a cape as well. So just remember that. But we want you guys to be here. Youth especially are kind of that perfect age range of you're not at high risk for any complications. So y'all come with your families, have a good time, come ready to worship, and we'll see you Sunday.
Absolutely. Jordan, what you got for us?
For our seniors out there, we are having a graduation Sunday for you, the last Sunday of this month. So that's the 31st, I think. It'll start at 11. It's for graduating seniors and their families. We hope you can be there because it's going to be fun, and we hope to make it super special for you.
Awesome. Yeah, lots of stuff going on, unlike the last month and a half. We're finally starting. I guess there's been a lot going on, but it was all on the internet. Now we're actually trying to kickstart some in-person ministry and things like that. One last thing that I forgot that I wanted to mention that Jordan's been putting together is she's been putting together some sort of sort of Sunday school in a bag things for kids. And so if you have any siblings that are 5th grade and younger, let us know if they would like to have one of these. They've got a cool craft, a coloring page, a Bible story. What else?
A memory verse. I think that was the only other thing that you missed.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so it's just a resource to make sure that you are able to still have faith conversations in your home. And so we want to make sure that that's something that's available to you and your siblings too. So let us know if that would be something that would be beneficial to you. So as usual, we celebrate holidays on this podcast after they happen. And so we're going to have a little bit of a Mother's Day special on the podcast. So we have a Mother's Day question for you, and then we'll come back, we'll play a Mother's Day game, and then one more discussion question, and then we'll have a talk about moms. So check out this discussion question, and we'll see you in just a minute. All right, well, we are back to play our Mother's Day game. It's called Real or Fake Mother's Day Edition. No, Mother's Day is real. But there's some facts. Fake. No. There's some... You're such a turd.
I make myself laugh, and that's all that matters.
I just had the Metallica song.
Nothing Else Matters?
Nothing Else Matters. I had what you said in Metallica in my head. You're welcome. Okay, so I'm going to read you a fact, and then you get to decide whether it is real or fake. Oh, go away. All right, so Dakota, are you ready?
I guess.
Teddy Roosevelt signed a measure in 1908 officially establishing the second Sunday in May as Mother's Day. Real or fake?
Real, sure.
It's fake. It was Woodrow Wilson in 1914.
Come on, man. Get your presidents together.
Believe you didn't know that.
Woodrow Wilson wasn't a good president, okay?
I'm
going to say it.
You should give...
It wasn't good.
I said what I said.
You should give Dakota all the really hard ones and Jordan and I the really easy ones.
Is your mom
Just
real
do
or
it.
not?
Real.
Let's see. I'm pretty sure she's real.
It's like Dr. Doofenshmirtz, one of his backstories. Even both of my parents weren't present for my birth. That's one of his most tragic backstories.
Oh, God.
What was it? Neither of my parents were bothered enough to show up for my birth.
Oh, my gosh. Next. Jordan. Anna Jarvis, the person with which the concept of Mother's Day originated, I was thinking Jarvis from the Marvel Cinematic Universe,
That's where my brain went.
became disgusted with the commercialization of it shortly after it became popular. Fake or real?
Real.
You are absolutely correct. It is 100% real. Good job. Anna Jarvis. There you go, folks. More facts for you to know in your head. Okay, 1/3 of all of the flowers purchased for the entire year happens on Mother's Day.
1/3?
1/3.
It's a large
It's a
amount
lot.
of flowers. I'm going to say real.
It's fake.
Lies.
But it's 1/4 of all the flowers. That is wild.
Shady.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense because I'm sure that like half of the flowers in the world are bought on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, you
yeah,
got Valentine's
for sure.
Day. Father's Day, I mean, no. That doesn't
I-
work.
Perfect gift
I
for your
am
father.
bringing y'all
I'm
bouquets
really-
for Father's Day.
I get pretty upset if Danielle doesn't give me a bouquet of roses.
Oh,
for
yeah.
Father's Day.
Yep. Bouquet of flowers with a power drill in the middle.
Right? Yeah. And then when you turn the power drill on, all the flowers spin.
It's beautiful.
All right, Dakota. Pink and red carnations are to be given to mothers still living, while white carnations are for those mothers who have passed.
You give them to the dead ones. Here you go. Take it. Take it.
It matches your bones.
Oh, God.
Unless they're dirty bones.
I mean, sure.
Answer the question.
True. I don't know.
It's not true or false. It's real or fake.
Real. It's
Real. It is real.
It's
you got it correct.
true or false, real or fake, same thing.
Real
Yes.
glad I bought my mom the right color of flowers this year.
Yeah, that's. I got to remember that because I'm
Sorry,
not sure that
I'm only gonna buy white carnations from now on.
for everyone. Doesn't matter what holiday it
Right.
is.
Very crisp.
Okay, approximately $14 billion is spent on Mother's Day each year in the United States alone.
14 billion.
14 billion with a B. What do you think?
Real.
It is real.
Yeah.
$14 billion.
It's not enough.
That's a lot of money.
Isn't that how much America's in debt? I'm just kidding.
I wish.
Cancel Mother's
be-
Day.
That's not quite as insurmountable as what we're
Take
actually
away
in
the
debt for.
B and put
Golly.
a TR.
Yeah. hmm
That's how much. Plus a little more, I think.
I think, is it 16 trillion?
I have
Yeah.
no clue. I don't
16,
keep up.
It's-
with
18,
it's
that.
an-
a lot.
It's a number that's made up at this point.
Yes.
For real. That's kind of how I feel about it. Okay, so in Yugoslavia on Mother's Day, the children would tie the mother up, and the only way she was freed was if she gave her children treats.
True, because I want it to be real.
It is absolutely real.
That's amazing.
Treats, Mom.
Jordan's like, next year, Mom.
Next
Watch
year.
out. Watch out. All right, Dakota.
We'll have
Okay.
a tender Yugoslavian Mother's Day.
Dakota, Mother's Day is celebrated in 250 worldwide.
No.
Nah.
No. Not false.
Fake-
Not real.
Fake news.
But,
not false.
Whatever the other one is.
Fake
it
news.
is fake news.
Yeah, there's only
Only
I
about-
think 156 countries in the world.
Mm-hmm. It's only celebrating about 50 countries. All right, Jordan. An octopus mom protects her eggs for about 3.5 years until they hatch. True or false? All right, my bad. Real or fake?
Fake.
Yes, it is fake.
Yeah, I knew it.
Octopuses don't have eggs.
So how long do you think they
I have no idea.
throw something out there?
I mean, they just drop the eggs and go.
Yeah, they drop it and ditch it. That's what I think.
4.5 years.
Whoa.
That's how long they're in the egg?
That's crazy.
It means they're like
4.5
when they're
years.
born, they're already 4 years old.
Yeah.
I'm a 4-year-old mom.
Ready to go. All right, Andrew.
Fake.
Valentina Vasilyeva
Ooh.
set
Sounds
the
real.
world record as a mother by having 69 children.
Wow. I'm pretty sure the Duggars beat that, so I'm going to say real news.
Oh my
It is
gosh.
real news.
What?
16 twins, 7 triplets, 4 quadruplets.
I know. I
what?
know a family that has 2 sets of twins,
Yeah,
and that's already too
much. Too much.
One set of twins is too much.
Yeah, right. One child is too much. All right. So
One pet is
tiebreaker.
too
I have
much.
no idea what the score is, but we're going to do tiebreaker anyway. The closest answer without going over wins. The most expensive flower in the world costs what? The closest answer without going over.
Go first, Dakota.
Let me think. $16,728.92.
Okay. I got to look at it again. All
Your
right.
turn, Jordan.
Got it.
100,000.
Okay.
$1, Bob.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Let's see. Jordan got it. 248,912.
That's ridiculous. Is it gold?
Gilded.
It's called a Shenzhen Nongke orchid.
Those
That's it.
orchids. they get
Those
expensive.
orchids. Yeah.
Yeah,
They'll get ya.
they're fickly.
That is crazy.
They don't want to grow.
Fickly.
They're rare.
They are. They're crazy.
Fake news.
Fake. They're not rare. I saw them at Walmart.
Did you buy it?
No, I didn't because it was too expensive.
No.
Let's see what a picture of that looks like. A Shinzu.
So while Andrew's looking that up, I hope you learned something new about Mothers or Mother's Day. And if you didn't, well, then you're really smart and smarter than we are. So take this discussion question, discuss it with your family around you, and we'll be right back to talk about moms. All right, welcome back. We are back to talk about moms, not talk about your mom in the mean, bad sort of way, but yeah, like that, your mom. I remember one time I was riding the bus, and because I didn't ride the bus a whole lot because both of my parents worked at school campuses that were within the district, but sometimes I would ride a bus from one campus to another. And I remember I was riding one time, and as knucklehead kids do, they were doing Yo Mama jokes, and they did one towards me, and I was like utterly offended. Like it was not it was not a joke. Like I really thought they were talking about my mom, and I was so mad. I remember getting back and telling my mom about it, and she was like, "That's all right, don't worry about it." I was so upset.
Yo mama's so old, she sat next to Jesus in the 3rd grade.
How rude. I'm offended. Just want to let you know this is my offended face.
Hey, but your mama sat next to Jesus. So.
That's true. That's true. It's pretty cool. All right, so our first question. Our first question talking about moms is simple and a little personal. What do you love about your mom and why? What do you love about your mom and why?
I'll go first.
Do it.
What I really love about my mom is her sweetness, her gentleness, and her overall like general contentedness. We're the total opposite. I have to force myself to be sweet and gentle, and I'm a restless person. It just like seems to come natural to her, and I really admire that about her.
Cool. She's one of those people that she has that shalom peace about her.
She does.
Just chill.
She chill.
Sweet. Dakota, what you got?
So this is a little gross, but whenever we were kids and even now when we throw up, me, my brother, and my dad, more so if they smell it, they will throw up too.
Oh, wow.
So my mom, she always has to clean up anytime anyone throws up anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Because my brother and my dad instantly
Just
They're done.
projectile,
they go. Me, not so much, but I will run outside and throw up.
right.
So that's the first thing that came to mind. That she has to put up with that.
Your mom, I have to say, your mom is long-suffering. No doubt. Dealing with you and your brother when y'all were teenagers. Whew. Y'all are a mess.
What do you mean?
I mean, y'all are a mess.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you do.
I was the perfect child.
Well, even if you don't, she does know exactly what I'm talking about. So hopefully she'll watch this and understand that I threw her a little bit of cred. But yeah, that is one thing that moms, I've noticed that with Melanie, that I'm just like, I am amazed at her ability to deal with really, really disgusting things with kids. Like, I'm just... I mean, I don't know that I've ever had anything that I was just like, I refuse to do that, you know. And I unfortunately I can't blame it on like throwing up. That would be great. But some of the things that she's just willingly like, all right, well, let's get to it, you know. I'm just floored by it. Mm-hmm. I do think it's a trait unique to mothers. Andrew, what you got?
Yeah. You know, my mom has always just been very, she's always made a lot of sacrifices for us. Just, you know, as long as I can remember, she would always take us to get new clothes before she had new clothes. She was always putting, you know, her needs and desires kind of aside for us as boys growing up. And just, I mean, that's still kind of how she is today. She constantly has conversations with us. Like, I can't always buy dinner for everybody. We're like, okay, like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, we intend
good,
to
Mom.
buy our dinner, but without fail, she's gonna pay for dinner
Right.
regardless. And so it's like, we have to fight for the check.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just kind of my mom's, I guess my mom's love language is to give.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, so arguing with her sometimes is counterintuitive.
Right.
So
You just can't.
yeah.
It's not going to work. Yeah, I think with my mom, similar. It's just her compassion for us, and maybe along with that, her long suffering of 3 boys. Like, I just can't imagine the chaos that she had to deal with. With like, I watched my 5-year-old and 2-year-old, you know, wrestle and claw at each other, and like, I'm just like, man, this must have been so horrible for my mom. But her long suffering with us, and just her compassion sort of through the mundane, because my mom was, you know, she made our lunches every morning, and, you know, was generally the one to take us to school and to pick us up. And I mean, you know, through the years that kind of ebbed and flowed and all that stuff. But, you know, she was definitely had a lot of the routine, and, you know, to kind of faithfully serve us that way. And then to be there whenever, you know, teenagers, we had questions about, like, Mom, I kind of like this girl, and like, what do I, you know, she was still willing to be there for that too, you know. It was pretty, I just think about some of those things and I'm just kind of in awe of her sometimes. So in God's design of motherhood, how did he make that relationship unique compared to any other relationship, do you think? and the way that God made motherhood, how do you feel like that relationship, and maybe you can talk about it personally or just kind of in general, how is that relationship different from any other relationship?
I think it goes back to the more even basic biblical idea of, gender roles within within the Bible. Women have always been traditionally more caring, more nurturing than men, and I think when you come to a parent-parental relationship, for me, when I needed sympathy, when I needed comfort, when I needed reassurance, it was like, I'm going to go to my mom.
Yeah.
But when it was like when I needed advice, when I needed tough love, when I needed to get kind of a quick answer, it was like, go to my dad. And so I think there's just this kind of this natural created nature within women to care for and to take care of people. Whereas, on that more simple nurturing level, I think men and women both are called to take care of people.
Right. Absolutely.
Be kind and compassionate. But women have been given a specific gift from the Lord, and how He's designed them to nurture and to grow with love and compassion and empathy. Because let's be honest, when my kids fall down and skin their knee, I'm like, get up, shake it off, stop crying, you're okay. I want them to be tough. That's how I take care of them. Like, be tough. You can't always cry when you fall down. Whereas Danielle's reaction is, oh, come here, come sit in my lap, let me clean it up, let's put a Band-Aid on it, and then you can go play again. And that's like, neither of those is wrong, but that's kind of where they are. And I think as you grow up, you learn to lean on your mom for that caring, compassion, reassurance that you're loved and you're taken care of and your needs are going to be met. And I think that's super important.
Yeah, I agree.
I think for me, it's the same thing, but I separate my parents with just a word. My dad is leader. My mom is teacher. And that's how it was even growing up. I mean, we were homeschooled, and she was our teacher, not just with academic things, but with everything else. How to interact with people, how to live life, how to walk, how to breathe, how to walk with the Lord. And my dad did that too, and he was kind of the primary on that, but it's different. She had a more caring, nurturing approach versus dad, and I think that's super special.
Yeah.
And it's sad to see that people are trying to take that away.
Yeah, trying to change that.
Mainstream.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah, I don't know about y'all, but I needed some nurturing sometimes.
Yeah.
I needed I didn't, and I think about that with my girls sometimes, because I'm kind of like how you describe yourself. Like I'm a little bit like, hey, you're fine. Get up and roll. It's gonna be okay. But sometimes they need mom to love on them, and to be long suffering with them, and that's kind of how that turns out in my family. Sometimes is that I'm a little bit like, no, you need to do what I said right when I said it, and I'm a little bit more obedience oriented, and Melanie is a little bit more maybe teacher oriented, like, okay, we didn't do it that time, but let's try again, and so I think I hope that compliment works well in my kids' favor, because I'm struggling with the long suffering part. But yeah, I think I think that those roles really are important, and I don't think that we should be spending our time trying to change them. I think we should be spending our time trying to understand them. What you got, Dakota?
Yeah, they covered it pretty well, but just as when you were like a little kid, it's a very, I guess, intimate is a good word for it, relationship with your mom, especially when you're real little, like before kindergarten or around that age. Like, if you get lost or something, a kid's always crying for their mommy. They don't want their dad. But that's your go-to for most stuff is, especially when you're real little, is your mom. You always want your mom. It's just a very instinctual kind of thing.
Yeah. Really, I think you're alluding to the fact that we were made that way, and that it's that motherhood really is designed by the Lord, and something that is not only innate in women to be moms, but innate in kids to see moms the way they see them. And I think that's something that we could definitely lean into rather than just try to adjust or change.
And I mean, this may be specific to me, but I feel like as a dad, my role with my children sometimes consists on like the complete opposite side of the spectrum, like entertainment and, disciplinarian leader, like this is how life is.
Sure.
And I feel like moms kind of cover
the middle ground.
That middle ground of, going alongside them and teaching them and working with them. Like I remember growing up when my dad taught me how to do something, it was like he showed me real quick and then he's like, okay, you do it. And he'd go inside and do something else. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to break this. Right? But my mom was like, if my mom was teaching me, if she was like, hey, I'm going to teach you how to cook this, I was like, okay, get the lasagna noodles.
Yeah,
put them on the
step
table,
by step.
and then step by step. And she was there with me the whole time. And if I did something wrong, she'd fix it and show me how to do it better. And my dad would come out as I was trying to change the oil on the lawnmower and say, so what's that piece over there? I didn't tell you to take anything off of it. Like, it's like,
oops,
I don't know.
Sorry, Dad.
So, that kind of like school of hard knocks versus like hands-on walking beside. And that's I don't think that's specific across the board.
Yeah, sure.
And that, if you're a dad, you got to do this. But
yeah,
I think that our natural instincts are to do things those ways. We want to teach our children independence in a way. And I think moms teach a healthy amount of reliance. You rely on me till you learn it, and then you go be independent. Yeah. Whereas we're kind of like, rely on me for the information to be independent.
Yeah.
And there's kind of this give and take, and I think that we need all of those things, and we need to not shun our natural, God-given attributes and characteristics to say, well, if I'm not this way, I'm less than somebody else. Because you're not using the gifts that God has given you to grow things. I mean, if you're a very nurturing father, like, be that. Right. Be a nurturing father, because that's how God's made you to be. Right. But don't say, well, I'm not good at baseball, so I'm not a good dad. Like, that's not how the world works, and that's not how God designed us.
Yeah, I think it's brought up an interesting characteristic that moms and dads kind of, in a way, sort of are helping kids in that balancing act of independence and relationship, and I think that it's something that shows the importance of having both kinds of influence in your life. One of the things as I was writing these questions I was thinking about was, there are teenagers listening to this that they may not have a mom, or their mom may be kind of MIA because of things that she's dealing with, but I hope that everybody has a mom figure, and I hope everybody has a dad figure, because we really do. We need those kinds of relationships. And while we're talking about moms, and generally moms are biological for a large part of the population, that may not be everybody, but moms really do teach us that sort of importance of community and learning things in relationship and stuff like that, while dads do teach us more of that, teach you how to swim by throwing you out of the boat kind of stuff. And it's
laughing at you.
Yeah.
While you struggle.
Right. So it's, and like you said, I think you did kind of throw a good caveat out there that this doesn't mean that every dad has to be like this or every mom has to be like this. It is a dance of those relationships, but I think that it's important that I think it shows the importance of a marriage, of kids growing in a household where mom and dad are present. But students, as you're listening to this, if you're going, well, that's not my house, then look for those relationships in the church. That's one of the beautiful things of living in community, is that you can have those relationships within the body of Christ, and God can redeem that situation through the people that you already know here. I've seen that happen several times in my own family, and in the youth ministry, where a relationship formed up that somebody kind of turned into a dad for someone that didn't have one around, or a mom, or so be looking out for that, because the community of faith can sometimes maybe not replace, but can certainly step in and fill that void to a degree. So the last question is, how can teenagers honor God in their relationships with their moms or their spiritual moms? How can teenagers honor God in their relationships with their moms?
And I think for me, the simplest level is just remember to say thank you.
Yeah, right.
Remember to show them honor for what they've done, because, you may not feel it right now, but at some point your mother went into labor with you.
Yeah.
And whether, however it was, she went in through a traumatic body experience to bring you into the world.
That's right.
And physically gave of herself for so many months to nurture you, physically and emotionally. And this goes for parents across the board, losing sleep for you, sacrificing dreams, putting things on hold for you.
Right.
And I get it. I was a teenager. Your parents make you mad, and sometimes it's mainly your mom, because she's kind of the worry wart of the parents. I knew that growing up, if I asked my dad, I'd get to do it. If I asked my mom, it was a maybe.
Yeah.
But I think reminding them that you see the value in the relationship that they've had with you, that you see the value in the sacrifices they've made.
Yeah.
And I think that's true even if you don't have a good relationship with your mother. Try to remember that at one point she changed your diaper. At one point she was putting food in your mouth even though you continuously spit it out.
Yeah.
She was the one who cleaned up your crib when you got your first tummy ache. Like all of these things, just remember to say thank you for the simple things and just show some appreciation. Because I know when I'm home alone and I'm doing the single dad thing, the kids just ask and ask and ask for things that they want. And you're like, this is driving me nuts. And then finally, one of them will come and say, thanks, Dad. And you're like, it was worth it.
Wow.
And it was something simple, but just knowing that you're appreciated and knowing that the work that you're doing is seen is crucial into nurturing that relationship. And so go home. Well, you're home if you're watching this probably, but go tell your mom thank you for everything she's done, making you dinner, buying you dinner, driving you to school, paying for your phone, whatever it is. You know, tell them thank you.
Absolutely.
I think for me, it's all about being intentional. As an adult now and in a relationship with my mom, we used to butt heads a lot because we are totally opposite personalities. And I had to learn the hard way how to treat my mother right. And she likes to hang out and she likes to talk and she likes presents. But those are her favorite things is whenever you bust into her room and you sit down and are like, I'm gonna hang out with you. And she's like, okay, cool. Those are her favorite. And being enthusiastic when I see her, I'm like, hi, Mom. She likes that.
Yeah.
Being sweet. And this goes for moms of all types across the board, like real mom, biological mom, or otherwise. It's just being intentional with how you treat her and being aware of how you treat her, and not getting caught up in your own problems.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was very easy. Mothers who love you, mother figures, whatever it is, who love you a lot, they're not doing the things they're doing for you to get appreciation.
Right.
Mhm.
But even when you're doing things just out of that agape sacrificial love, when you're giving of yourself to people, it gets exhausting when people
Right.
aren't noticing what you're doing.
Right.
And when you're constantly pouring into somebody and you feel like, man, they don't ever see everything that I'm doing for them,
Mm-hmm.
it gets exhausting. It doesn't mean that they love you any less, but it does. It takes a toll on someone to give of themselves constantly so that you are satisfied, only to have you say, I'm not going to spend time with my family tonight. I'm going to go play video games at my friend's
Right.
house.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's such a crushing blow. Like, we had
Yeah.
planned this thing tonight. And no, I'm going to go hang out with
I'm
my
gonna go do
friends.
this. Mm-hmm.
Because they've sacrificed so much. They're like, you can't give me 30 minutes
Right.
tonight.
Right.
And so just, remember those things. Be intentional to
Mhm.
say,
Yeah.
hey, I'm going to spend time with you. I'm going to appreciate and acknowledge what you've done for me.
Yeah.
So one thing I was going to add to what you said, Jordan, that I thought was really kind of being intentional and loving your mom intentionally. Sometimes, and this is teenagers, kids, grown adults. Everybody. Sometimes you need to take the time to get to know your mom. Kind of like you were talking about how you had to kind of learn how to love her, because every person kind of has different ways that they appreciate being loved. So this is a really silly one for me, but to give an example, a silly example, like growing up, my grandmama, my mom, all of them would give me back scratches. I know it's so silly, but but when Melanie just walks up and scratches I'm like, oh, I'm loved. It's just this, it's weird. And what I'm saying is those things that are really meaningful to moms have come about them sometimes in different ways. And it may not be something that you can just like, y'all didn't know that about my grandparents, right? You didn't know. So sometimes you have to get to know them to know. Now, please don't walk up and scratch my back, because that's going to be really weird.
No problems here.
Dakota's like, dang it. But I think that's something that, we have to do as kids, is we've got to get to know our moms enough to know how to love them well. For my mom, it's spending time with her. She is the world's hardest person to buy anything for. I can't ever think of anything that because she's very utilitarian with things. Like, if she doesn't use it, like, it's not in her life, And so I'm like, well, I guess, Mom, I can get you mixing bowls, but I really don't. Mixing bowls, come on. Who wants mixing bowls, But so for her, like for Mother's Day, we all just got together and had a big, huge brunch, and all the brothers I made deer sausage. Matt made like a casserole, breakfast enchilada casserole, and then Jonathan made French toast, and we just pigged out together for a couple hours, and it was great. So, but you have to learn. You have to actually get to know your mom to know some of those things. And the more you get to know your mom and the more you learn those things, the more special those thank yous and those extending that compassion to them, I think, means. What you got, Dakota?
Definitely respect them.
Yeah.
And this is me talking to myself. Even, if you're having an argument or even just talking about stuff, even when you think you're right or when 100% you are correct,
mm-hmm.
and they don't accept it, you still got to be respectful to
mm-hmm.
them and not
mm-hmm.
just get mad or get gloaty when you find out you're right or
right.
any sort of stuff like that. But just respect that they have a different perspective being older than you and having gone through more life experience than you. They, maybe not usually, but most of the time, know more than you.
Sure.
And more than often, they're correct and you're not.
Right. That was something that I learned, I think, when I was about probably 21 or 20 or 21 when I was in college. It was like this light switch just flipped, and I was like, oh, my parents aren't the idiots that I thought they were, you know. They actually do know what they're talking about, you know. Because I kind of went through that sort of young adult, older teenager phase where I was like, Mom, Dad, really? Like, I know, you know, and I didn't actually know. But they, you know, so I think every young adult kind of has that point where they like, oh, wow, they're not as crazy as I thought they were. They were right about that.
Sometimes they are.
Yeah. Well, and I think that to add to what you were saying, I think that also that parents have a level of God-given honor that we as kids are to respect. No matter what, I mean, I see my parents with their parents, you know, they're not really kind of making that big shift to where they're doing a whole lot of taking care of my grandparents. But they're definitely, you know, spending more time in that nurturing role with them. But they don't have any less respect for them and less honor for them. And I think that really is in God's design and how he made them. We do well to honor and respect our parents. It is in the Ten Commandments. I mean, it's like, it's one of the ones that should be easy. Should be easy to remember. Maybe not easy to do,
Right.
But yeah, that's good. Well, students, I hope that you found some useful information here, facts about Mother's Day, maybe not. But more importantly, that you found a useful conversation here. Maybe you can have a conversation at home about some of the things that we talked about, or maybe you can just leave this podcast knowing that maybe you have some work to do with your relationship with your mom. As we wrap up, and we always want to make sure that everyone knows that as we talk about things that are important, all of this kind of finds its genesis in our relationship with Jesus. That's the beginning of a good relationship with your mom, is a relationship with Christ. And so we hope and pray that you have one. And if you don't have a relationship with Jesus, holler at us. Let us know. We would love to lead you through what that is. And if you so choose to follow him, we want to help you do that. And so it really kind of boils down to accepting that Jesus came and lived a perfect life, a life worthy of us following, but also then died on the cross for us and rose again, showing that he has the power and he truly is the King of all kings and the Lord of lords, and that he is worthy of us following him. And so that's the sort of maybe the nutshell, but there's so much more. So if you want to know what a relationship with Jesus is like, if you want to know how to accept him as your Savior and your King, please hit us up in the comments, shoot us an email, call us, come to youth group whenever we have youth group, come to church on Sunday, and let us know, and we would love to walk you through that. So with that being said, thanks for joining the From Us to Youth podcast, where the lady and the three beards talk about things. It's great. Hey, we love you guys. We hope that you're doing well, and we hope to see you very soon. Take care.
What do we do if one of us shaves our beard?
It'll be two
Then
beards.
you're the lady.
And a man.
You are the lady now.